In 2004, FBI agents executed a search warrant on a home in Annandale, Virginia, hunting for evidence of Hamas fundraising. Deep in the sub-basement, they found a hidden cache of documents. Among the boxes was a document authored in 1991 by a Muslim Brotherhood operative. It was titled, "An Explanatory Memorandum on the General Strategic Goal for the Group in North America." The text explicitly defined the organization's work in America as a, quote, grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within. The author drafted a diagram listing 29 front organizations meant to take orders from their guidance. Look at these boxes: the Islamic Society of North America, or ISNA, and the Occupied Land Fund, later the Holy Land Foundation. The memo assigned these groups the task of leading a settlement process. This was a literal inventory. The names listed on those sub-basement pagers were already operating at the highest levels of American Muslim civic life, and they were following a very specific set of orders. The evidence shows this was an active, step-by-step blueprint designed to quietly weaponize the civic infrastructure of the United States against itself. We can track the execution of this plan directly into a federal courtroom. In 2008, the government successfully prosecuted the Holy Land Foundation in the Northern District of Texas. The foundation, explicitly named in the 1991 basement document, saw its officers convicted by a jury for funneling more than $12 million directly to Hamas. During the proceedings, the Department of Justice filed a list of unindicted co-conspirators. That list publicly identified highly visible American advocacy groups, including the Council on American Islamic Relations and ISNA, as entities of the US Muslim Brotherhood. When those organizations petitioned the court to have their names removed, the presiding judge refused. He ruled that prosecutors had already provided ample evidence to establish their association with the terror financing network. The prosecution submitted the 1991 explanatory memorandum itself into the official court record as Government Exhibit 003-0085. The Holy Land Foundation trial proved as a matter of federal record that the network mapped out in the basement was fully operational on American soil. The 1991 document specifically ordered the creation of a parallel judicial organization to gradually normalize Sharia law within the American legal system. This map illustrates data compiled by the Center for Security Policy. It identifies 146 published appellate cases across 32 states where U.S. trial courts accepted or applied Islamic law instead of standard state laws. In one New Jersey case, a family court judge denied a woman's request for a restraining order after finding that her husband had forced non-consensual sex on her. The judge ruled the husband lacked criminal intent because he was operating under his religious belief that Sharia allowed marital rape. An appellate court had to intervene to reverse the decision. The blueprint also mandated a vast educational footprint. Today, that takes the form of Islamic charter schools operating entirely on the public dime. Look at the Tariq Ibn Ziyad Academy in Minnesota. The ACLU sued the school and the State Department of Education and federal court, proving the academy was using state and federal tax money to illegally promote Islam, all while maintaining overlapping leadership with a federally identified brotherhood entity. The courtroom concessions and the taxpayer-funded religious schools represent the exact parallel civic institutions the 1991 memo ordered its followers to build. The memo calls for a shift into 18 categories of comprehensive organizations, specifically demanding the creation of political and economic institutions to sabotage the Western House from within. In Hamtramck, Michigan, this localized political mobilization is highly visible. By late 2021, Hamtramck elected an entirely Muslim American city council and mayor, becoming the first fully Muslim-governed municipality in the country. That political control was accompanied by decades of systemic fraud. Statements from Hamtramck's own former city clerk revealed a localized political operation that utilized illegal ballot harvesting and bribery to win elections, mimicking the memo's call for the art of coalitions to absorb local power. This pattern of seizing local infrastructure extends to the economic category. In Minnesota, the Feeding Our Future pandemic relief fraud demonstrated the massive scale of resource diversion possible within these communities. Only 3% of the funding granted to the organization went to feeding children. Over $250 million was stolen, providing a massive, illegal infusion of capital into a concentrated network of private actors. These localized acts of fraud and financial theft provide the fuel for the civilization jihadist process. By capturing local political and economic systems, these operations allow the Brotherhood's network to sabotage American civic life using the government's own resources. The original memo called for 18 specific categories of comprehensive organizations, from political and judicial groups to media and youth centers. 2 decades later, those categories are firmly entrenched in America's civic life. The Muslim Brotherhood drafted a plan, seeded a network, and constructed the exact institutions they outlined on paper. This is not a sudden takeover. It is an incremental widening of the entry points within American institutions, normalizing parallel Sharia norms until they function alongside Western civil standards. The document pulled from that Virginia subbasement serves as a precise, active map of our current reality.